office, I had some questions. But even more so in the age of Trump, how, and I would love to get a MAGA, somebody who leans right on the program, because you can set me straight. I don't block, ban, or censor, so maybe you can correct that. So anyway, we're going to talk about that. Should more blacks vote Republican? I do want to ask, like I asked earlier in the program, how you feeling so far about Trump in terms of the direction of this country? Think he's doing a good job? You think we're on the path to greatness, or do you see something else? So we're going to talk about that as well. Looking in the comments, don't be a Christian, be a follower of Jesus Christ. I like the way that's worded, but can you be a follower of Jesus Christ and not a Christian? I guess, can you be a follower of Jesus Christ, for instance, and not read the Bible? All of that's Christian ways, is it not? How many folks are a follower of Jesus Christ but not Christian? I don't know. How do you even, I suppose there's some kind of way you can do it, but I've never heard anyone suggest that that's what they were doing, is I'm a follower of Jesus Christ, but I'm not a Christian. Huh. Never heard that before. Anyway, you should, what is it? It says should be any American vote Republican, race not included. I don't quite get what you're saying. And thank you, Pop Onaya Shelley. Thank you for the support. So blacks voting Republican. Do you believe the African American community would be better off if they voted Republican come election time? Voted for Trump, voted for Bush, voted for Republican governors. Perhaps the people of Texas is better off they voted for Greg Abbott. Ron DeSantis made the blacks better in Florida. Do you believe the black community is better off when they vote Republican? We're going to talk about that. And last but not least, as I was mentioning about the whole big, beautiful bill, I want to get your take on that. We were talking about this earlier. Do you believe Trump is leading us on the path to greatness with the big, beautiful bill as well? Will G says Trump and MAGA ain't shit. He says they are fattering. What he says, they are faltering, so they will throw anything at the wall to see if it sticks. That's kind of like the 2020 election. That's what Trump was doing. If you claim to be a pro-life Republican but doesn't support health care, you ain't shit. That's a good point. That's a good point. And I don't think the Republicans in MAGA see it the same way, but I tend to agree with that. You can't call yourself pro-life, but then you don't want to do anything for a person that is living. If you're pro-life, then you should care about extending life. Some folks are suggesting that the big, beautiful bill could lead to a host of deaths as they get rid of people's health care. I mentioned to that Christian African-American MAGA guy I was just talking to that you see me in the other live, I just mentioned to him that they're estimating that as many as 12 million people will have lost their lives by the year 2030 because of our USAID shut off. How can you be pro-life and do that? If you're sending money to help people overseas with deadly diseases like HIV and things like that, if you cut that off because I want a bigger tax cut over here in America, is that a Christian thing to do? So, or is that pro-life? Let me go to the box. We'll start the program off. You're going to talk about Trump saying today that it says today that frames can own workers again. Farmers. What are you saying? Slavery? Wait a minute. Who said? Are you suggesting that Trump said today that farmers can own workers? I haven't heard that. Wow. I have not heard that. Arshafine, good evening. Welcome to the program. Have you heard anything like that, Arsha? Trump said that farmers can own workers?
Oh my gosh, Tim, I can't keep up. You had pulled me up a couple hours ago. I was on my way to a job interview.
Did it go well?
Which went well.
Thank you.
It went very well. When people hug you after a job interview, it's pretty much in the bag.
Well,
anyway,
you just happen to look good. That's all that is. But keep going.
It was a woman. It was a woman.
And
huge black
you in the blue state, and
Be quiet. Anyway, I don't read into that much. I live in Hawaii, so hugging and kissing on the cheek is a part of life. So but if you don't do it, that would be weird. So okay. I'll say that we finished off on a normal note.
Okay, hold on. Before we go into it, I do want to read this comment. And by the way, handsome, major, boo, appreciate that. Says, so regular human beings, we have no accountability. We should be judging. We shouldn't be judging anybody because we're not in it. We're not in a judgment position. Only God can. And for us Christian people, not in position to judge. To give our opinion, but that's it. That's what we're asking that question. Can you be a Democrat and a Christian? And I agree with you, Major Boo. But I mean, because you do have a hell of a lot of judgment from human beings against other human beings in regards to their religion. So the right is suggesting often that you can't be Christian and Democrat. What say you?
You're asking me this question. Oh,
yes, ma'am.
First off, politics have nothing to do with faith or religion. I think if you hold on too much to your politics, you definitely can't be devout to whatever it is that you believe, whether it be Christianity, Islam, or Judaism, or any of the faiths. Like that, politics is material. Anyway. Not going to get into philosophy. However, I am a heterosexual female with a lot of LGBTQ and mostly heterosexual people.
Okay.
A very diverse group. I know a lot of Muslims. I know a lot of, do you need to... No. Because I know, no, you do not need to be, you can wholeheartedly be a Democrat.
And Christian.
Or a progressive or a liberal and be Christian.
But let me, and I see.
But I'm going to say one other thing.
Sure.
I'm going to say one other thing. You can also be a Republican.
Christian.
And be gay. I know LGBTQ Republicans.
Whoa.
Okay. And so yes.
Why the hell would you be an LGBTQ and vote Republican when they don't even want you to exist?
I don't know. Ask Caitlyn Jenner.
That's a great point. There's
plenty. I don't like the idea. My thought is I'm not necessarily a party. I'm an idea. Which I consider myself a progressive.
So so you don't agree with Will in my comments saying MAGA is the devil. The Bible speaks. He says MAGA is the devil. Damn, you don't agree with that.
Okay, so
you don't disagree with it.
I don't believe anybody's the devil. I believe temptation and evilness is tempting for all of us. What I will go back to, because I had told you earlier today, I was listening to you, and the gal, it's heartbreaking for me as a mom. I'm a mom. I have.
What happened?
The woman, coming into a hospital, having to be on life.
Oh, you're talking about You're talking about the woman that was. You're talking about the woman that was pregnant and brain dead, and they kept her alive to deliver the baby.
Yeah, well, it wasn't. They kept her alive for something the size of a raspberry. I've been pregnant twice. I've had, a couple. I have had a miss. It doesn't matter. My reproductive. Mine is, and it's gross. That's disgusting.
But how about the notion that they did, the Republican, they did save a life. They saved the Republican Party saved a black kid's life. Does that not give them any credit?
They didn't give a black kid a life.
That kid was going to die, and they saved his life.
No, that kid wasn't even a kid when that happened. I could understand if maybe she was 6, 7, 8. Listen, I've carried babies. I know what they look like. I had multiple. A raspberry that is just a bunch of, a lot of people. Gangster grandma, I love her. Dead cow, all the peeps. I like the majority of the people. I believe we could get along and have a glass of wine without you know, reaching across the table and choking each other.
Okay.
But that's gross.
So what are you saying? They should have. They should
That's
have.
not pro-life.
They should have let the embryo die.
Well, of course. Like, Tim, if you get in an accident, what happens to you? And, you know, your family decides we don't want you on life support. What happens? They pull the plug.
Okay.
Are you trying to tell me that my rights as a human being, just so I so happen to be pregnant while I have a life-altering experience that puts me, basically kills me, you're not going to let me die?
I'm just
because
Arsha,
that's gross.
Arsha, let me tell you something. Trump made it clear what direction he was taking the country in, and you women voted for him. He won the women's vote. He won it. So
don't you be saying you women to me, bro, because it wasn't me winning.
I get it, but he did win, just like with the Hispanics. He won the Hispanic male vote. You can't blame the guy for doing what he campaigned on, and you voted for him.
Listen, you're not being honest. He did not win the Hispanic vote. He didn't win
the
black male vote. He got more than some people. That's still not winning.
Out of everybody that ran, Trump got more of the Hispanic male vote than anybody. He got more of the women's vote than anybody. To me, that's winning the women's vote. He won the women's vote.
White women don't like us. It's okay. Anyway, so moving on. Moving on. I also heard earlier about the deportations. We have a gentleman who is naturalized citizen, been in this country, running for mayor, never done anything wrong. He is actually being threatened to have his citizenship revoked because of his views. And this is where and he's not, by the way.
Who is that? That ain't the guy in New York. That ain't the guy in New York, is it? Who is that?
It's the guy in New York that's running for mayor. He's Indian, from India, dot not feather. And he happens to be a Muslim, but he's been raised here in America. He has citizenship. The Trump administration at this point, because of what he's speaking of, which is definitely more progressive about New York. He's
threatening to deport the guy?
He's threatening to revoke his citizenship.
God, I haven't heard that.
So,
wow.
Oh, yes, it's all over the news, Tim. I don't know. What? You need it, like the Washington Post, even the Wall Street Journal. They've been talking about this all over the last 2 days.
I heard Trump threatening to lock the guy up if he has a sanctuary city. I heard Trump calling him a communist. I just didn't.
No, they actually have threatened. He had a live thing. There was a huge article in the Guardian as well. But yes, he has been intimidated. The gentleman made a statement about how he has been, he's being bullied. That's
no shit. That's bullying. That's being threatened. I mean, he's talking about possibly deporting Elon Musk too. He's using deportations as a weapon. Yeah, he's using that shit as. And I see in the comments, your buddy, your admirer, handsome Major Boo says, Tim, I know my wife is pretty because I gave you a compliment. He says, pretty damn fine as hell. Let's not start that. So he didn't like the compliment I gave you, but something.
Oh my. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Hey.
He's an admirer. I've never met him in person, but yes, he's an admirer. Yes. So
you are admirable, apparently. But I will just say this. I heard that he was talking about locking the guy up for having a sanctuary city, but I hadn't heard the deportation part. But Trump is using deportation.
No. So what they're saying, what the Trump administration is saying is because he has spoken out. Okay, this is my biggest problem. If I were to tell you that I am very pro vanilla ice cream, which, by the way, I'm not going to lie, it's my favorite ice cream.
Same.
Does that mean it is? It's your same?
I love vanilla ice cream, yes.
Holy shit, you're the only man I've ever met that loves vanilla, other than my son,
Really?
that loves, like, oh, anyway, so at the end of the day, so you can relate to this. If I say I support and I like vanilla ice cream, does it mean that you won't eat or accept the other flavors?
What is this, a Black Lives Matter conversation? Yeah, of course I'll eat chocolate.
Probably not. Huh?
Yeah, I'll eat other flavors. No, it doesn't mean that.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, if you are for a certain sort of people to live, it doesn't automatically mean that you want all the other peoples other than those people to die.
And the reason why I asked you, is this a Black Lives Matter conversation? Because that's the same language. That's the same language they say. If you say BLM, it means you don't care about the other races.
Yeah.
It's the same language.
This is about Palestine. So the person that we're talking about, who's running for mayor of New York City, had spoken as a person, any humanitarian should hope that we've gotten to this point where if you want to speak about the humanity of one people, you must hate the others.
Yeah.
Two things can't be true at once, and that's disgusting in this country. You can be anti-Netanyahu because he's a fuckface, man. He's an asshole of the biggest thing. When you see citizenry protesting against your human rights, you know you're not human, or in the best way, right?
Okay.
But you can say, like, I do not accept what the Israeli government is doing to the Palestinian people and not be anti-Semitic.
I agree with that.
You can also say, I believe, and I, in my heart of hearts, ache every single time I hear of innocent people in Palestine, women and children, and, just everyday.
I mean, I don't know though. I agree. I agree with you.
He is being accused of being a terrorist because he has spoken the exact language that I'm telling you.
Mm. And I agree with you 100%. I say this all the time too. You can criticize black people without being racist. Yeah, you can certainly criticize the acts of Netanyahu in Israel being anti-Semitic.
No, the difference is criticizing black people. That's rude. You can criticize a government. I'm not.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying, though. You get what I'm saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Criticizing Israel or Netanyahu don't mean Jewish people. I agree with that 100%. Exactly. Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Exactly. And so that's their logistics of him potentially losing his citizenship.
Wow. I got it. Yeah.
This is where the First Amendment is like seriously in jeopardy. And for all of you MAGA people out there who want to call us to do whatever you want, like if you want to go on to a forum that, talks about how the white race is superior and all of us are in, or whatever you want to be, that is free speech.
Yeah.
If you believe that can exist, but you saying Palestinians don't have the right to exist is terrorism, then
I don't disagree with that. I mean, everybody says they're for free speech until you say some shit they don't like, and then they're certainly not for it. I gotta move on to Arsha.
So that's basically my report on Trump this week. And at the end of the day, Tim, you and I, both of our parents were born here, but shoot, at this point, we gotta be careful, bro.
That's crazy. I gotta go. Thanks for coming through.
All right.
And by the way, I will say, if what she's talking about is looking like a possibility, I don't know why. What is it? FIFA, the World Cup, and the Olympics. I don't know why they haven't canceled coming to America with this kind of stuff going on. Now, I've seen folks in the comments where she brought up the mayoral candidate of New York. People. He's talking about spreading communism and all that. He has the free speech right to do that. I mean, there are citizens in this country that wanted to vote for Bernie Sanders and they truly believed in socialism. You can't tell the citizens either you believe in capitalism or we're going to punish you. That's not how it works. We're literally losing freedoms as we speak. So because someone decided they want to go in a different direction from capitalism, you want to punish them? What's the difference between that? What is the difference between that and forced patriotism? This is the same shit about if you don't like Trump, you need to leave the country. If you criticize America, you need to move out. But these same folks will tell you in a couple of days that we're in the freest country on earth. I'm not hearing it. When you start talking like that, I'm not hearing it. I'm hearing we're on the path to some kind of pseudo version of forced patriotism or something even darker. Tap the screen, get the likes on up to about 10,000. I haven't asked you to do that. It would help out the algorithm. You know what I always say the program is, shall forever be MAGA friendly. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome as well. But do your boy a solid, tap the screen. If you are watching on YouTube, feel free to give your boy a like. It helps out as well. You enjoy this type of dialogue, literally going left of Bernie Sanders to I'm having a dinner with Q. That's how we cover the whole spectrum. If you like that, go ahead and give your boy a follow or a subscription if you're watching on Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube. Looking in the comments real quick, Will G says, what are the chances that Trump deports Elon smelling like shit Musk? It ain't zero. It ain't zero. What are the, because Trump talked about, looking into deporting Elon or whatever. It ain't zero. It really depends on if Elon does not learn to keep his fucking mouth shut. If Elon continues to escalate things on Trump, I'm going to tell you flat out, I do believe Trump is very much capable of trying to deport Elon Musk. There's no doubt in my mind that if Elon continues to attack Trump, Trump would be willing to use that on Elon. I don't think he would stop at that. I'm not saying he can or can't. We can talk about that, whatever, and by the way, when it comes to Elon Musk and deporting him, other than him hiring attorneys, it ain't gonna be too many citizens in this country protesting on behalf of Elon. He done fucked up with MAGA, and the Democrats don't give a shit about him. So if Trump does something wrong to Elon, I don't think it's gonna be too many people that are concerned about what happens to him. So Trump could probably pardon Elon and get celebratory response on both sides of the aisle. So Elon probably does need to be quiet. Looking in the comments real quick, promoting communism is not against the law. That falls under the First Amendment. Yeah. Look, the American citizens are not in a state where they have to be capitalist or else. If you favor a different type of way of running the country, you can run on that. You don't get deported. It's insane. Well, I mean, like I said, if you're defending that, and I see a lot of my MAGA viewers are trying to defend Trump threatening to kick him out because of communism, then you're not for free speech. You can end that whole claim that you support free speech with that because you're not. Further great. Good evening. Welcome to the program. Kicking out the mayor because he's talking communism. Further great. What say you?
That's crazy as hell. More of the circus I told you it was going to be. Upside down world. This shit doesn't make sense at all.
Why would the Constitution-loving conservatives seem to have no problem with Trump threatening to do that?
Because it got Trump shit on it. He's been wiping his ass with that Constitution. That's why they do it. That's why it's so fruity and appealing to him because it's mirrored in his shit. They love it.
Jeez. So as long as it comes from Trump, they'll be okay with it even if it violates the Constitution.
Man, they keep showing us. Like I said, at first, the Coke thing was kind of catchy and all right, the left got a jab to throw. But it's hard to see it any other fucking way. Because like I said, we've had people in this previous term, I told you then, I always make the analogy with you. I know Tim through TikTok, but if you come to work for me, I'm going to ask for a resume.
Right.
And what does a resume ask for? Personal and professional preferences.
Yeah.
Referrals. And all the referrals that work hand in hand with this guy had to figure out saying he ain't the fucking guy y'all want to put back in. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know the fucking dude, but the people that worked with him, I think they know what kind of shit he's on.
You do raise a good point that most of the people that work with Trump do not apparently have a good experience once the relationship is. I mean, like his whole first administration. Is there anybody from that administration that speaks favorably of him? You do raise a good point. I guess there's somebody in there. Kellyanne Conway, she still speaks favorable of him, but you're right. He has a whole host of unhappy people in his wake. What does that say about the man?
Like I told you before, people like to liken him to the little German man. I call him Creflo Dollar Joel Osteen. Man, he gets him in the pew. He passes the fucking plate around. He talks a little shit. He does his little two-hand jack-off dance and hugs the flag. And they just empty their fucking pockets. Hey, whatever, bro. It's really no different than me. I grew up in the church, but I would argue that that's a cult as well.
But how about this? Because I see in the comments, and I need somebody to let me know because this is the first I heard of it on the live, but Gandalf History 2.0 says there is no evidence that Trump said he was going to get rid of that guy in New York for socialism. So, because I haven't heard it yet, but people on the show are saying that Trump threatened it. Did you hear anything about this?
No, but here's the bigger point. It didn't fucking surprise you when you heard it.
No, that is a great point. No, it wouldn't, and that is 100% great. That is absolutely true. That even I haven't seen any proof of it or not, but no, that the idea that Trump would do something like that, yeah, it's right up his alley. He would actually do that. Yeah, that because he did talk about doing it to Elon Musk. There is proof of him doing that. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me one bit.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that far fetched.
Yeah,
and and earlier, I know you got some family things you got to deal with, but I think Elon knows where the bodies are. And, even when he called him out on that Epstein list, we've seen Trump try to eviscerate whoever fucking talks like that about him. He kind of played that pretty PC.
I don't know. You really think Elon got some real dirt on Trump?
Oh yeah.
Well, let me just say it this way. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I think he do, and like I was just talking about the people that work right there with him. You know what I mean? The same people that was telling this dude ain't shit.
Okay, well let's go with
I think they got dirt on him too.
Let's go with that. Even if Elon has some dirt on Trump, somebody said Vladimir Putin. Even if Vladimir Putin has some dirt on Trump or any member of his administration, when he said middle of Fifth Avenue, the point I'm making is this: even if some real dirt came to light, I'd say probably half of the country would say, I don't care. I mean, when you got Elon Musk finding all this waste, fraud, and abuse, the Republican Party was trusting everything he said, was not demanding he prove any of that waste, fraud, and abuse. He was trustworthy. The minute he said Trump was on the Epstein list, he was lying. He hadn't done anything. Like, how did he fucking lose your trust? He had all your trust and credibility when he was finding waste, fraud, and abuse. The minute he criticized Trump, he suddenly lost all credibility. So the point I'm making is I don't think it would matter if any of them came forward with dirt at all. MAGA ain't leaving that guy.
And like I said, so are we offending these people when we say that you guys are in a fucking cult? Like I said, it's hard to say that you're not in a cult because I'm not disagreeing with nothing you said.
Well,
but how do you support that shit and say everything you're saying is right, but in the same voice say, but it's not a cult? 2 + 2 still equals 4. The math I was taught. I ain't been to school.
I'm just gonna politely say no comment.
I'm just saying, man. You know what I mean? And like I said, it kind of pains me because these are my neighbors. These are my fellow citizens. You know what I mean? So, and don't get me wrong. But where's the fucking line? We have a line for everybody else. You know what I'm saying? People, family have issues. I think it's safe to assume that everybody has some kind of pedo or some kind of something that happened in their family.
Good
but you want to lock Uncle Pete up. All someone has to say is, yeah, he fucking did it. Hey, he gotta go.
Well, I'm telling you that I believe that even if it came out and they actually had proof that Trump was on the Epstein list or even had done some shit. First of all, one problem is the hurdle to get credibility from MAGA is so fucking sky high that almost nobody can can achieve it. And what I mean by that is I've often asked folks, particularly my beloved MAGA, I often ask them, let's say Trump actually did commit a major felony. I'm not saying he did, but this is the question I give him. I say, let's say he did commit a major felony. The question I always ask is, who could tell you and you would actually believe it? Because all of the people that would likely tell you Trump did something wrong, like the FBI or the NSA or the CIA, you don't believe any of those folks. You're not going to believe anything coming from the media. As long as Trump is saying I didn't do it, there literally is no one else that can convince you now he actually did this shit. And even if you show them, you would almost have to show them actual, clip by clip. It would have to be video. It would have to be ironclad video evidence. Otherwise, they ain't going to believe nothing that you hear.
You remember what Marion Barry was called?
Smoking crack? Yeah. Yeah.
I don't even know if that would fucking work, Yeah. I mean, this, like I said, it pains me to say this, but it's hard to call it anything but what the fuck it is. You know what I mean? I get it. You like the guy, but if there's no line, then you're in a fucking code. You know what I mean? I love my wife. I love my brother. I love my mom, but there's a fucking line. You know what I mean? I'm sure
I don't think there is a line for Trump. Even the Iranian war, it pissed off a few folks, but he didn't cross the line with it. I mean, I don't know what Trump could actually do that MAGA as a whole would turn on Trump. I can't think of anything that he could do. I mean, because now they're talking about literally thousands of people millions could lose their health care. They're celebrating that. So I don't know what he can do. I mean, they're going to ride with Trump no matter what. He talked about a third term, which is a violation of the Constitution. They're like, hey, let's find out a way to do it. So no matter what he does, it ain't going to violate MAGA. They're going to be cool with that.
And like I said, it's upside down world. Like I said, I'm 47. And all my life, I had people in the military in my family, and I don't know if they do it anymore, but we stood and we pledged allegiance every fucking morning before, class and all that. All this fucking patriotism, the Constitution, and somewhere in 2010, we just said, fuck all that. We just gonna go with a man that has a vision and a dream, and we're gonna put our horse blinders on and just follow his ass wherever he takes us. And to your point, I think it was a couple of days ago, somebody came on here talking about, you see the fraud that they found, those people and the healthcare that was doing this and that.
Yep.
Okay, so why couldn't Doge do that? They shut down whole fucking departments and shit. We didn't get one warrant. we ain't heard one name. Just trust me, bro. That's
how. Something. It's interesting you bring up the Doge and the waste, fraud, and abuse, because you got a lot of MAGA that adamantly swears that Trump is not going to get rid of Medicaid. He's just going to get rid of the waste, fraud, and abuse and make people who get it go to work. And I'm going to say that they're going to do to Medicaid the same thing that Elon Musk did to the federal employees. They're going to tell you that good people who are going to work every day in needed positions are waste, fraud, and abuse. And you're just going to buy it. They're going to take people off of Medicaid that truly qualifies for it, and they're going to tell you that person that they took off was a waste, fraud, and abuse category, and they're going to buy it. That's the way they're going to be able to do it, and people are not going to have as much outcry, because as long as they categorize it as waste, fraud, and abuse, Trump supporters are going to be like, that's a good thing for America. Even if the people that are being categorized as waste, fraud, and abuse are not waste, fraud, and abuse. That's exactly what happened to the federal employees. They all were deemed as waste, fraud, and abuse. Nobody asked any questions. As long as you say that, you're good to fire them. And you're good to cut them off Medicaid.
Well, and I brought this to your attention a while ago, and you was like, what the fuck are you talking about, Fer? Honey Boo Boo. Honey Boo Boo. Mtv Cribs. All this bullshit is why we're the fuck we at now, and we got the president we had. We're having a fucking... a ninja Alcatraz gator fucking farm down there. So when someone escapes, it's gonna be on MAGA clothes cam where you can watch the guy jump over alligators and place bets on which alligator bites him and all this shit. I mean, it's all fucking entertainment, and people just suck it up. We just, like you said, every day we want to grab your remote first thing in the morning. We want to see what the fuck he's tweeting. Man, like I told you, bring old Sleepy Joe back. I wouldn't give a fuck if he was asleep. Hey, he only works an hour a day. I don't give a damn, man. I'm so over this bullshit right here because it's all performative in my estimation. It's all performative, man.
Three and a half more years. The further degree, 3.5 more years. We gonna make it through this. 3.5 more years.
It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. But like I said, man, hey, me and you, they've been trying to get rid of us for a while. So I know we'll be here.
Let me ask you before I move it on from you. Some folks are starting to say, as opposed to ridiculing the Hispanic community and saying, see, you fucked around and found out by supporting Trump. Many are starting to suggest that the black community needs to realize that you might be next. And as opposed to ridiculing the Hispanics, you need to team up with them and fight with them. What say you?
Well, that's why we can't get out of any fights, because the fight started with us. You know, it sounds good, but we can't get out of any fucking thing because this fight started with us. We were the stolen property originally brought here. You know, when I heard someone earlier talk about the illegals, hey, spoiler alert, the first illegals wrote the fucking Constitution. So what are we doing? What are we talking about? Like, just because we don't like the way the illegals look now? You know, the first illegals, we quote them every day. You know, the great George Washington and all these other motherfucking generals and shit were all illegal.
Yeah. Well,
but, you know, I'm going to close on that. But side note, I sent a few invites earlier. I see Michael and Cal in here. They had Austin Metcalf's dad in Alive. And, man, that shit.
What did he say? That's the father of the slain guy that was taken out by Carmelo Anthony. What did he say?
Man, that shit. He said everything wrong. You know, the lawyers don't want me on here talking. You know, Melo's gonna get life. He's gonna get the full extent of the law. Believe me, I've seen everything. They're telling me shit. You know what I mean? So they're breaking the law. Let him tell it. By having them privy to shit that's in there.
Oh, so you're telling me that the prosecutors in the state is talking to him behind his back, making promises?
Yeah, well, that's the way he framed it. You know what I mean? People, and you talking about an asshole? If those kids was 1/5 of him, then yeah, they was fucking with Melo, because he was a combative, I would say up to borderline racist son of a bitch the whole time he was on the fucking live, bro.
I wish I could have saw that.
If he comes on again, I'm going to send it to you, man. Just
Please.
Look on the lookout for it.
Please do. All right, for the great, thanks for coming through. Please send me that if you catch that. Thanks. All right, moving on with the program.
Tap the screen, people.
Yeah, and by the way, he is right. Tap the damn screen. Get your boy on up to 20,000. We'll take the next caller at 20,000. We can certainly make that happen if you let your thumbs not be lazy. By the way, somebody asked, why do I have two streams? I used to have the vertical stream and horizontal because a lot of folks watch it on their actual television at home. I didn't even know people were doing it until people started telling me, why don't you have it the other way? But I get a heap more support on the vertical than on the horizontal, so I'm like, fuck it. If vertical seems to be more supportive of the program, I'm gonna put them both on vertical. So I stopped doing the horizontal, and as a result, it leads to two streams where one is slightly behind the other. In the comments, real quick, we've been saying this since Trump announced running in 2016. He is a fascist and willing to punish people for doing and saying things he doesn't like. It's coming to reality. Wow. We can certainly discuss Trump and if he has any of the tenets of fascism, but I don't think anybody would deny that Trump punishes people for doing things he don't like. That's you'd be lying. So I think even MAGA, the folks who definitely support Trump, will readily admit if you do something he don't like, he's going to come after you. I don't think all of the Republican senators and Republican Congress like all the stuff Trump is doing, but they're afraid to speak out. The few people that do lose their careers instantly. Now, the big, beautiful bill only had 3 dissenting votes in the Senate. I think Ron Paul was one. One of the guys, Trump was threatening the primary, and the guy said, fuck it, I'm quitting. The guy that was from South Carolina, he just announced right after Trump started threatening him that he's decided he's not going to run for re-election. So, yeah, there's no denying that if you don't do what Trump wants, he punishes you. I mean, look at what happened. Look at what is happening to Elon Musk. I mean, the guy gave you $350 million and is often cited as the reason you got reelected. And it didn't take hardly anything for Trump to say, fuck you. I'll destroy your businesses and kick you out of the country. He turned on Elon Musk pretty damn quick. Tim Tillis, yeah, that's the guy who that Trump is talking that basically stepped down from the Senate. Real quick in the comments, I do want to give a shout out To Kevin, he says, do you like white tampons? And then he also continues, small tampons, long tampons, pink tampons, purple tampons, hair tampons. What kind of tampons do you like? I want to take time out. I know June is over with, but shout out to the LGBTQ community. I do apparently have a few folks that most likely are in possession of a rainbow flag because they're asking about tampons and sexual things, one dude to another. So shout out to you. I'm an ally of the community, by the way. I'm an ally of the community. So look, I go by the handsome liberal. Look, if you find me attractive even as a dude, I don't block, ban, or censor your commentary. So shout out to the LGBTQ community because you're wanting to know. I mean, when you ask where do you put the tampons, where do tampons normally go? It's sexual, right? So shout out to you. Ain't nothing wrong with you being gay. Nothing wrong with it at all. I appreciate your input. Feel free to continue. Okay, looking in the comments real quick though. Theory is Trump is only trying to run for a third term to outlast the statute of limitations of his crimes, which is 5 years. That ain't gonna work, Will G. You're saying that Trump is trying to run for a third term to outlast the statute of limitations for his crimes. The problem is he's committing crimes while in office, likely. I mean, I'm just telling you. There's a good chance that if Trump leaves office, I mean, at the very least, lawsuits and things like that. He just got Paramount to settle with him for something they did. You know, if Trump can sue media outlets for telling lies on him, that means that anything he says on Truth Social about somebody that's a lie, that's media lying on somebody. People tend to forget when they're talking about the liberal media and fake media and all this shit. Truth Social is a media outlet. So if Trump goes on Truth Social and says something that's false, that's fake news. That's coming from the media. He is the media. Same thing with X and all this other shit that MAGA don't normally view as media. But Trump just purchased a large media conglomerate. That's what Truth Social is. So the only difference is he's currently president. So you can't really sue a commander-in-chief. But once he leaves, everybody from the Haitian migrants on out could probably have a case against him. I mean, he claims that people were eating cats and dogs. He can't prove that. There's no evidence of that. All of this shit, just like Ruby Freeman and all of them ended up getting Rudolph Giuliani for $80 million. Trump was involved in all of that stuff. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, I'm just simply saying, once he started suing media outlets, if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander, right? I mean, your media is not honest either. Everything you go online to say dishonest stuff all the time. According to you, I should be able to sue for it. That's what you would do, right? So I think that once he gets out, man, my guess is, not to mention, shit, did he back up anything Netanyahu did that somebody might consider a war crime? What about some of this alligator Alcatraz shit? I don't know. I don't know if the statute of limitations will be gone, Will G. My guess is some of that stuff he's doing now, you know, how many people have died in ICE custody so far? Over a dozen so far this year? All of that. If we're gonna pin Fast and Furious on Obama, the deaths in Afghanistan on Biden, the ICE custody deaths, how does Trump get a pass? Just letting you know. Looking in the comments real quick. Fake blues, I don't know what that means. He got punched in the face by a grown man and lied and said his kid did it. You talking about Elon, no reply? All right, let me go back to the box. I love alligators. I love Alcatraz. I love ice. Shout out to you, ice baby. I believe Tim meant that tampons. Why are you guys constantly talking about this? I mean, like, I'm trying to pay attention to everybody's comments and respond, but I'm not gonna ban you. You can speak, but I'm not gonna keep having conversations about tampons. If you wanted to be comical about it, you got your joke in. Back off of it. Otherwise, I'm just gonna ignore you. Going back to the bots, we'll continue on with Jeremy. Good evening, Jeremy. Welcome to the program. From draining, what does that mean there? America, wake up. We are in big trouble with this administration. Do you agree with that, Jeremy? Do you think this administration is taking us down a path of trouble?
Yes, a little bit, but you really want to go after me after I roasted you this morning? Come on.
I get fucking roasted for breakfast. I don't mind getting roasted. Why do you think I have an uncensored program? I love MAGA. You can roast me.
All right.
Okay, that ain't no big deal. I got somebody asking me right now, do I have a vagina and tampons in it? I don't give a damn about that.
Yeah. Our gangster grandma was going after you a little bit too.
Yeah, I get roasted every day.
Anyway, so look, I think that like, look, I'm gonna always praise Trump when he does something right, and when he does something wrong, I'm gonna call him out on it. That's why I still say I wish I had voted Libertarian instead of Republican. But here's the thing: the big beautiful bill is not perfect. It definitely has some problems, but people are heavily exaggerating how bad these problems are by a lot.
Explain. Let's take your belief of it. What problems do you believe the big beautiful bill has?
So there's some parts it's about it where like the rich are going to get a little richer, while the poor are not going to receive as much. That's not a good thing. But then the requirement for people to actually work like half a week, I don't feel bad about that.
So
if you're disabled, you're exempt, which makes sense because to me, like I have a disabled brother, he can't even work at all. He's not capable of working. Like so that makes sense for him. For someone like me, I'm able-bodied. That makes sense.
Here's the problem though. Just like what I mentioned the comparison to Elon earlier, talking about how he found waste, fraud, and abuse by firing people. If they pass this that you gotta be working if you're getting Medicaid. The problem is they're going to deem some people are capable of working that really aren't. You're going to have a lot of Americans saying, look, I'm missing a fucking leg, or I can't get over the PTSD of what happened in Fallujah, but they're telling me I got to go back to work if I want to continue. They're going to be deeming people as, because they want to save money. So they're going to push you as much as possible to earn this as opposed to having to give it to you. So they're going to be deeming people capable of working that really are not. That's what's likely to happen. Just like Elon Musk fired people for waste, fraud, and abuse that really were not waste, fraud, and abuse.
Well, like who did he? That wasn't waste, fraud, and abuse.
How you gonna? I can easily answer that. I can easily answer that. If you go to a department and you just fire 50% of the people without even doing any performance reviews or anything at all, you fire good people. I mean, the dude got a chainsaw in his hand. He just goes to a department. Half of y'all gotta go. You ain't doing no performance review. You're not gonna ask any questions or anything.
That's not a specific organization.
Yeah, it is. Different departments of the federal government he was doing that to.
Right, can you name a specific one?
Not offhand. Somebody in the comments let me know. Because he did it to so many different departments. It wouldn't take me but a second to do a Google. So IRS. Somebody said the IRS. There you go.
Oh, yeah, those idiots. Yeah, I'm glad.